You know that feeling when you're just doing everything, when everything is a sprint, you're moving constantly and somehow just going nowhere. You know it's not laziness anymore. Maybe it used to be, but it's not now. It's not a lack of effort. You are working, you are pushing. But there's a mismatch between that input and the output for your business. That gap, it becomes exhausting in this way that is hard to explain. And you can get close to burnout here, but it's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about something a little bit more specific and a little bit more flexible and fixable and trainable. So this episode is going to be about what happens when you're sprinting in every single direction, but achieving nothing in any of them. So here's the picture. We've got this client, a business owner, running a service business, let's call it, with a small team, 3 people plus him. He actually jumped into this call with me directly after a very difficult call with one of his team members. He was like a couple of minutes late, which is very unusual for him and actually unusual for the type of people that I work with. But there was no buffer between his last call and my call, which meant that he got on this call frantic, urgent, uncertain. He was already a little bit of like flat and disconnected almost before we started. And then as the session progressed, the real picture emerged. This wasn't just a tough morning that it was having. It was like this financial pressure had been building in the background. The relationship with his partner, romantic relationship with his partner was feeling a little bit strained. They hadn't been communicating. She'd got her own stuff going on. And then in a business mentorship environment, he'd asked what he said was a very normal question and then been publicly called out for not having done what he needed to do sooner. But he's got this plate full of stuff and he's just been executing. And because of that feedback, he felt ashamed. But he'd had team issues and he'd had cash flow issues and there was a connection gap between him and his partner, and he's getting this external pressure and it's all at once. He actually said right at the end of the call, it was almost the exact phrase, I think. He said something like, I'm just sprinting and not really achieving much in any category. So that's what it's looking like. It's not burnout, it's not weakness, it's something called hustle fragility. He's not failing in this situation. He was running this system that was just designed to break under load. It was an insufficient system. And that load just arrived all at once. What happened in the past is hustle worked. Hustle served him. Really beneficial until it doesn't. Essentially, it's what got his business to this level of success, but it's what's actively preventing him to get into the next level of success. Initially, you have to do everything as the business owner. You are fulfilling all roles. You have to take extreme ownership of everything. You have to stay urgent. You have to be everywhere. And that exact mechanism gets you from starting to a degree of safety, but not quite. The level that takes you from a degree of safety, but not quite, to truly thriving is actively prevented by this hustle and grind mode. What's actually happened is the neural loop, the connection, the network in your brain that's responsible for hustling gets rewarded over and over and over again. What fires together, wires together. So you have this neural loop, this circuit, this network that's reinforced and it gets the reward over and over and over and over. You earn more money, you get more success, you feel good, you feel successful. And that is rewarding the hustle. So the hustle happens, then it gets rewarded. It's almost like classical conditioning. And the strategy that most people take here is I'm just going to do more. They try and be resilient. They think, I've just got to be more resilient. I'm going to do more. It's obviously a sign that I'm not tough enough. I just need to push through, keep going and stay strong. But resilience is like a plastic beaker. It's as opposed to a glass like this. A glass is going to knock over and it's going to shatter. Like, you obviously don't want to be fragile. The plastic beaker, you can knock it over and it can take some load, but only to a point, and then it will shatter. Eventually, what you need is not more resilient, but it's something called anti-fragility. It's this relationship with stress where the pressure builds it rather than depletes it. The difference is resilience absorbs the stress, anti-fragility uses it to become better. And there's anti-fragile systems everywhere. A tree with wind develops something called stress wood, which enables it to stand up. If you don't have the wind, it falls over. He was trying to be impervious to this load, just like get his head down and do the work. The load was actually beating him. Hustle isn't this strength, it's fragility in a high-vis jacket. It looks like performance until the stress starts showing the cracks and the cracks start expanding. So here's what we did. Firstly, like always, we named it. We got to understand it. We saw it. We drew it out and showed him the pattern so he could see it. And then we made it almost physical. I asked him about his, I initially asked him about his deadlift or his back squat 1 rep max, but he was a little ashamed of that, so he used his bench press, which was impressive. And we picked this number out from like kind of 95% of his 1 rep max. And we said, okay, so sometimes 110, 115 kilos, it just flies up. And other times it's like a drag, you're pushing it, you're forcing it, you just can't quite make it happen. It's the same weight, but you've got different stress loads going into that situation. You've got different things happening in your life. You've had different amounts of difficulty. You've had work pressure. You've had romantic pressure. You've had kids. That isn't failure in that moment. It's just the human condition. Some days you're going to be stronger than others. That's what happens. And the question isn't, why does this feel harder today? The question is, can I hold my form under the load? Can I still act as I need to, despite this 110, 115 kilos that I'm pressing off my chest? And then I introduce those 3 levels. The fragile system breaks under the stress. It just shatters, it falls apart, you don't maintain that form. The resilient survives it just about, but maybe your shoulders creep up and you press with poor form. You do anything to get out of it. The anti-fragile way is, I will use this stress, I will go towards it, I will advance myself towards this discomfort in order to adapt positively to the stimulus. So, the goal isn't to stop feeling pressure. It's to let the pressure do its job and realize that you are strong enough to handle it. This guy is building a skill. He's building stillness in the storm. It's not an absence of chaos. It's operating clearly inside it. There's part of him that wants to go, to force, and there's part of him that wants to stay measured, and both need to be present at the same time. He needs to find the minimum effective action, high precision, no wasted energy. The stress isn't the problem. The relationship, his relationship to the stress is, and that is a trainable thing. So this is the lesson, this is the principle. Every high performer in whatever industry, in whatever arena of life, is going to hit a point where just hustling and doing more stops working. Not because they've run out of effort, but because effort was never the limiting factor at all. We know the operator is the bottleneck. And an operator is going to break from stress, not from too much of it, but from having the wrong relationship with it. You've been told that resilience is the goal. Just push through, stay tough, don't let it affect you. But biology does not work like that. Psychology does not work like that. The strongest systems in nature, trees, bones, immune systems, and your mental fitness, gets stronger through stress, not despite it, but only when you voluntarily expose yourself to it. The question cannot be for you, how do I reduce the pressure? The question has to be, how do I operate at a high level whilst under the pressure? That does not mean hustling. That means feeling it and doing the right thing anyway. That's the rep. That's the training. That's what sets and reps actually means when we're talking about honing and building the operator. Stop trying to avoid the storm. Start building yourself into being the kind of operator who can be still with inside it. Next time you feel that pressure spike, whether it's a team issue, a financial issue, whatever it is for you, don't reach out for that to-do list. Don't just do everything on that to-do list. Pause and ask this one question. What does the best version of me do right now. Not what needs doing, not what feels most urgent, but what does excellence look like here, in this moment, under this load? That's the rep. That's slowing down. That's stilling. That's you building your anti-fragility. And do this once this week, just once, and notice what happens. The load doesn't have to break you. It can build you, but only if you stop trying to outrun it and start learning to move well inside it.